New information this morning about the top consumer complaints of 2023. Kristen Allen is at the First Alert Safety Desk this morning. Kristen, what are the top issues that the consumers were dealing with, and how can people protect themselves?
Emerson, this report is just coming down this morning from the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade and Consumer Protection, which gets about 11,000 written complaints from consumers every year. There are 10 categories for these complaints, and some of the big ones include issues between landlords and tenants, a large number of those dealing with issues like security deposit returns. Another one topping the list is telemarketing. There was actually a lawsuit against a company that allegedly placed 157 million calls to Wisconsin phone numbers on the National Do Not Call Registry. And of course, identity theft is always a big concern. To protect yourself, you're urged to create unique passwords and activate two-factor authentication for important online accounts. Also, take a look at your credit report.
And a couple of ways you can monitor your identity is just get your free annual credit report and check it out to be sure that the information on there is accurate and reflects your security profile, your credit profile, if you will, to be sure that scammers and identity thieves aren't using your information to receive services and credit in your name.
Victims of identity theft should contact the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade and Consumer Protection right away. To submit a complaint online for identity theft or any other consumer issues, you can head to our website, WBAY.com.